The only, well, so my favourite artist was Peter Bellamy, who committed suicide in the early 80s, I think it was. He was part of the sort of the folk tradition that sort of people still like back Fairport Convention. He sort of came from that folk revival of the 60s. Right. But he used to do Kipling poems to music and stuff like that. And he didn't fit in with the era of the time at all. But fantastic stuff. Really raw.
So, is this what drives Nick Griffin? Nostalgia for an idealised past, when the British were all poor but honest and white.
You say you were a fan of the Clash, right? Again, this is an obvious question. How can you be a fan of the Clash who identified so solidly with Rock Against Racism? You know what I mean? And also identified with the anti-stuff lords. You know, how do you square that? Is it just a musical thing or a political?
I like the music. The sort of air of youth rebellion that was around at the time that got everyone. There were loads of kids from the National Front used to go along to those gigs.
He talked about his childhood and his unusual education at an all-girls school.
Do you think, and I think I've got this right, being one of only two boys in an all-girls school informed your opinion of the world?
I was at an all-boys public school from between I was 11 and 16. So first of all, I had a choice of staying in the sixth form in an all-boys public school. I was a day kid, or going to a girls' school. What's any lad of 16 going to decide?
So you spent a vast amount of your time in female company?
Yeah, yes it is.
And how did you find that? Do you think about that now? I mean, about how it affected how you thought?
I often used to think about all the missed opportunities because I'm too young and naive to take advantage of when it went.
I was talking to one of the producers earlier on, you know, and we were saying that in our experience, we find women are cleverer than men, and they're certainly more sensitive than men. I mean, to be in that environment for that period of time, what happened?
Well, I was, first of all, it didn't...
And what happened when you left?
Well, it didn't particularly inform my politics, because I was already...
a Nazi.
No, I wouldn't. I was already a member of the National Front, which in those days was not the kind of organisation it's now caricatured as. It became, you know, later, the skinheads and all the stupid stuff came later. When I joined it in 1974, I was one of the only youngsters in it. It was very much, it was either middle-aged trade unionists or, you know, middle-class folk who were refugees from his Tory party. It was the public's response to Enoch Powell in 1968.
And you're talking about immigration,
I'm talking specifically about immigration, yeah. And that's what created the National Front, which I joined before I went to St Felix, the girls' school. So it didn't affect my politics, really, one iota. I got a good education there, possibly because, you say, girls, perhaps, they're certainly more subtle, and perhaps, in an academic sense, cleverer.
I wondered if you'd been ostracised at Cambridge.
One thing that's always interested me, you're a Cambridge Blue, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And you were a member, I think, of the National Front while you were there, is that?
I was, yeah.
And the authorities, I presume, must have known because of various meetings that you tried to either create or went to. How did they manage squaring giving you a blue for boxing? How did they manage to do that?
It would be outrageous not to. You get the blue actually for representing the university against Oxford. That's the thing.
Right.
So the first year I lost on points, and the second 2 years I won the first round knockouts. If you just represent the university at that level, you get a half blue, and if you win, they can't turn you down.
Didn't you get people
cheering
Nick Griffin?
I got it on merit. I certainly got everyone cheering for Cambridge. Even in those days at Cambridge, when I got there, I thought I'm going somewhere near, you know, university, the hotbed of leftism. And one of the first leaflets I got in a pigeonhole at the college was come to the demonstration against Barclays Bank, because at the time they were investing in South Africa. Yeah. So I went along and thought, well, I'll go and open an account with Barclays then. And I expected to go through a huge crowd of irate and intense left-wing students. There was one person with a placard. Now that was in 1977. Students are even less political now than they were then. But it wasn't the 60s. It had already faded away. So I was just, you know, another member of the boxing team, and you stick by your mates.
Did you get them cheering for Nick Griffin? Go on, Nick. You know, put one on him, probably.
Yeah, definitely.
Really? So, and they knew that you were in the National Front?
Yeah, but they weren't fast.
Do you find, at the moment, because of what's happened recently, vis-a-vis what they call the credit crunch, the economic crises, that these are good times for the BNP?
They're going to be.
fertile
Yes,
ground.
yeah, they're going to be. You can feel it building up. At present, it hasn't really kicked in. We noticed this when we had the first wave of the credit crunch 2 years ago. And in the early few months of people seeing gloom and doom on the television and all the rest of it, fearing they're going to lose their jobs, actually there tends to be a bit of a drop down in political involvement. People give less money. People, if they're worried about their jobs, they stay at work longer and so on. So it tends short term to have a negative effect, ironically enough. But equally, that wore off after, I suppose, 6 or so months. And I'm pretty sure it will wear off, because I think the British public are beginning to understand that they haven't got the money to give their political elites to carry on with all their various projects for remaking Britain in a way that we don't like. So, yeah, I think it does a great deal of good.
I tell you what, I think one of the problems that you have is a vast majority of people don't believe that you have shed that that skin that you had, 20 odd years ago, 30 years ago, where, you, your party, everything that it stood for, National Front and the BNP, were basically ensconced in what is really a white male thuggish kind of persona, which you yourself recognised, and you said that, no, I will change that. I will change the image. I don't think that people believe that. Can you honestly look at that camera and say, it's not like that?
It's not like that. Of course,
Look, can you honestly?
I honestly can. Yeah,
Can let me finish it. Are you also saying that, just say you got into power, you were elected, that you wouldn't say, right, here we go, and you will revert back to how it was, or how you were?
No, it's changed.
You've changed.
I've changed.
You've changed. How have you
changed.
changed?
I think probably mainly that all the young men, whether the left, the right, and so on, and see, no one asks on camera. They don't bother asking Jack Straw, "Have you changed from when you were a communist?"
I absolutely agree.
And I think that's partly because in that case it's sensible, because to hold young men up to what they said or did 20, 30 years before, and give the idea they haven't changed or they can't change, is a very, very shallow way of looking at human nature. The thing that changed me most was simply having kids and going to work with real people in the real world.
In the real white world.
It doesn't matter. No, in the real world with ordinary real people. And all the young men with ideals see things literally in black and white. And as you get older, you come to see things in shades of grey.
Well, obviously you don't. You still see them in black and white.
No, I don't. I'm the person who changed the British National Party from having what you would simplistically say was a whites-only party to being a party which welcomes any race, creed or colour.
If you weren't breaking the law, you wouldn't have done it, I don't think. And most people out there believe that.
It's been done, and that couldn't have been done.
But only because you had to do it.
That wouldn't have been done with the old British National Party. It simply wouldn't have accepted it.
It's really claiming that the BNP are no longer racist, that the white male thuggish persona is a thing of the past. The BBC found a very different story when their camera operator bravely filmed this confrontation in Barking during the 2010 election campaign.
Just get on your fucking way, will you? Get on your way. There's more of us than there you, mate. Oh, calm down, go on. Calm down.
Surely racism remains at the heart of the BNP.
Get on your way.
Define racist, and then we can probably discuss that.
What do you mean? When you make any kind of judgment based upon a person's race and also the colour of their skin?
I'm not making any judgment based on anybody's race. I'm simply saying the country's full, for a start, and full of silly people. And the vast majority of first of all, Britain is full of people. Full is over, and you can have quite a large number of people from a culture like ours and assimilate them. But the more foreign and different their culture is, the harder they are to assimilate. So a typical example, you can have quite a significant number of Christian West Indians, so identified certainly the earlier generation, brought up to Britain, coming into Britain, and it would still be British. There wouldn't be a fundamental clash.
What, because they're Christian?
No, it's a combination of things. They are more like us than Muslims are, because Muslims who can be white, for instance, from Southeast Europe and so on, their fundamental core values and what they want in a society is hugely different from that of us or Christianity.
Yeah, but surely that's only a percentage of Muslims. I mean, there's such a thing as an English Muslim. There is such a thing.
That is not.
Well, there is.
No, you can have a British Muslim, yeah, sure enough. You can have an English Muslim, because English, well, you can have a convert who becomes a Muslim, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you can have one of those.
Okay, and then what about their offspring?
Well, if they follow the faith of Islam and actually really adhere to it, then they, as a collective bloc, are a menace to any other people near them.